welcome to our Keys to Canada tour.
We are as far south as we can get in the Keys.
And you thought it was Key West? Oh no, we're about 70 miles south of that. So stay tuned, you're going to want to see it all.
That's always good. What movie will you show? No, I'm just kidding.
It's called Castaway?
Yeah.
My name's Chris, guys. Welcome aboard.
On a grand adventure, I'm along for the ride, and I feel it all again for the very first time. On a grand adventure, with you by my side, 'cause I love to see the world through your eyes.
Just below the water surface, you can see the ghostly shadows of the World War II destroyer escort Patricia. The Navy intentionally sank her for bombing practice. Next up, you can see the mast from the Arbutus. This 70-foot ship sank from hull deterioration during an expedition to salvage Spanish treasure. After years of searching, the owner, Mel Fisher, found the treasure he was looking for. Gold, silver, and emeralds are now lining his pockets. You will find other treasures as you fly over Dry Tortugas National Park, including dolphins and sea turtles. Dry Tortugas is just over 100 square miles and includes 7 islands. You may be surprised to learn that only 1% of this beautiful park is actually dry land. The rest can be found underneath the Atlantic. The park sits at the end of an artificial reef, which is why it's one of the best places in the world to dive and snorkel. This beautiful national park is one of the least visited national parks because it is so remote. You can only get there by ferry or seaplane. So in 1846, there wasn't any Battleborn, there wasn't any water treatment center, there was none of those city things that you think about when you go into your bathroom. So how did they get fresh water?
It's pretty interesting the way they had it designed from the top all the way down. So they caught rainwater in a gutter style system, and it came down drain pipes and it went into a cistern so that water would go down there and fill, and then they had hand pumps just outside each casement
Area.
and they held 92,000 gallons in the cistern.
And apparently it rained about 30 gallons a day. So they were able to collect water, frequently. Luckily, they had a lot for everyone here to sustain them because there wasn't a, salt water treatment plant around.
No, they did not have a desalination system here. But at one time, there were 1,700 troops here. So they had to have a lot of fresh water, sitting around salt water. You just can't drink it.
I bet they weren't filling up too many bathtubs.
No, they were not.
And a cool thing is they did filter it after it came down. This area here is where the filter was housed as the water actually literally came down from the roof into the filter before it was in the cistern. So just to think about the lack of technology and everything they were able to accomplish out here 70 miles from civilization.
You can see there's still a couple placements for the handrails outside. So they had them pretty much all the way down for the soldiers to access fresh water.
We're standing in the building that used to house the gunpowder. They had wood floors, so they kept it up off the ground so it stayed nice and dry. And then they also housed it here to help prevent sparks. There was a cement roof and there was a second level, and this place is thick. I don't know how thick these walls are, but I just can't imagine building this brick by brick by brick. We are standing in an old prison cell. This cell actually housed Dr. Mudd, who is the doctor that set Booth's leg after he attempted to assassinate Lincoln. So this is where they brought him and held him until he was finally pardoned.
Yeah, he was here in 1865 to 1869, and he worked various jobs in and around the fort, but the one thing that got him in big trouble was he tried to escape on one of the ships that they were loading on. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
After that, he had someone sticking to him all the time to make sure he didn't try to escape. It's really great. Can you imagine living out here?
No.
According to some of the writings he did, letters he sent back, he said every day he had to bail out 10 to 12 bucketfuls of water out of his cell just from where it seeped in through slits. They're not really windows, but
No. Openings in the walls and ceilings.
all along the top of the fort are places, magazines that housed all the, I guess, cannonballs. They had to be cannonballs. They couldn't be just gunpowder at this point, ammunition. Yeah. So they would tuck it in here. So if they were getting shot at, they would have a place right in here to put all their ammunition. And of course, the military, they could also tuck in here if they were getting shot at. So we were just walking up top saying, what are these things? And boom, what do you know? The National Park Service posted a sign and answered our question.
Yeah, and there's 16 of these throughout the top of the fort here, so it's pretty interesting. Again, I'm enamored at how they built this and thought of everything.
Such a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy! Oh my gosh, this would be the ultimate in adult hide and seek. There are so many places to hide here. You just gotta be careful for falling brick and open ledges. We are circling around the moat here at the fort, and if you look really hard behind us, right between us, you can actually see the lighthouse. Are we 90 miles from Cuba or less than 90?
I think we're 90-ish miles from Cuba.
I need to find that out because I don't know if Key West is 90 miles or, because you know the Keys don't end at Key West, so are they talking about 90 miles from the tip of the key?
Yeah, and
Inquiring minds want to know.
I don't know what key that lighthouse is sitting on.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
They named a bunch of keys on the way out here, but you know you're oohing and awing as you're looking out the window of the plane. So it didn't register. It didn't stick. But I got to tell you, this is absolutely phenomenal.
It is definitely bucket list.
Yeah, if you've never been here.
If there's any way you can get here, stay at a cheaper hotel, start crushing cans earlier. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
It is so worth it. Especially if you love to snorkel. We only did a half day today, so we opted not to snorkel because we're hitting a couple other reefs. But this is some of the best snorkeling, not just in the country, but in the world. Phil, let's tell everybody how they can come out here and see this beautiful national park for themselves.
First option is the Yankee Freedom Ferry.
The ferry is actually the cheapest option to get to Dry Tortugas, and it doesn't sound like it at $200 a person. The ferry allows for 4.5 hours of island time. Your other option to get to Dry Tortugas is what we took, and that is the seaplane,
which you hop on at the Key West International Airport.
There are some drawbacks for taking the seaplane.
The biggest in which is the price at $371 per person for a half day, or $644 per person for the full day. And on top of that, you have to pay for parking at the airport.
If you do the half day like we did, you only get 2.5 hours of island time, and that's really not enough time to explore all of Fort Jefferson and snorkel. So we opted not to snorkel. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're deciding if you want to do a full day or a half day. The cost of transportation to Dry Tortugas is one of the main reasons that this is one of the least visited national parks and one of the most expensive to get to.
Right, either way you've got to spend the money to get out there. And we figured if we're going to spend the money for the boat ride, why not spend a little extra and we can knock off a couple things on our bucket list item.
Which was the seaplane.
Yeah.
So we have this huge bucket list. If you haven't seen it, I will link it below, and we've been checking it off as we go along. So pop over, check it out, and we will help you build your bucket list and help you check things off as you travel around the country.
And I got to tell you, if you've never been on a seaplane, this is an opportunity to do that. It was a short trip, but it was an awesome trip to boot.
Now there are pros and cons for each, the ferry and the seaplane. So on the blog we list all the pros and cons for both, so you can decide which is best for you, because a seaplane might not be what you're looking for.
Right, but I'll give you one of the pros right now to taking the
Tip
boat.
alert!
You get a sandwich on that one.
No.
On our seaplane, you got no snack.
That is not the pro tip.
I'm just
The
saying.
pro tip, actually, I can't even believe the pro tip should have been take the seaplane, and if you do, choose the very first flight of the day,
Right.
because that gets you there on the ground, on the island the longest at 6.5 hours. And when you first get there, the seaplane people, which is about 10 people, are it for the whole island. So you pretty much have the island all to yourself. That actually is the pro tip, not the sandwich.
Yeah, well, I like my pro tip too. Somebody, you know, in the comments say you at least liked my pro tip.
Yeah.
But-
in the comments, tell Phil to keep his sandwich to himself.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, when we were there, there were a ton of people in and around the fort, the beach, snorkeling,
Yeah.
you name it. But first trip of the day, you've got the whole place to yourself.
This was our very first video for our Keys to Canada tour. We are starting right there at Dry Tortugas, and we're going all the way up to Nova Scotia, and guess what? We are also heading over to Newfoundland. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
That's right. We are taking the ferry. Man, I should have laid off the margaritas before we recorded
you probably
this.
should have. Maybe you should have had some more. But we're actually putting Ruby on the ferry
Yes.
and going over to Newfoundland. And I'm not sure if we're saying it right. Is it Newfoundland? Is it Newfoundland? I mean, how do you...
Well, you know, I've seen it both, but I think it's Newfoundland. I don't think it's Newfoundland.
I don't know. So our
That's it,
newfies let us know.
Newfoundland. Yeah, okay. So either way,
Yeah, we're not you know, discovering it for the first place. Newfoundland up there. No.
we're excited that you guys are coming with us for our Keys to Canada tour. So we are hoping to bring you a ton of exciting new places and unique places to check out.
Yeah.
So make sure you stick with us as we travel from the Dry Tortugas all the way up the East Coast.
There you have it. That's good. That's good.
All right.
Right, well,